Hello and welcome to the Scrappy Penguin Knits. This is video number 1 for my vlog series. This channel is going to be covering mainly knitting. Down the road there could be some scrapbooking content as well, but it is mainly a knitting channel. My name is Stephanie, and this video will probably be a little longer than videos in the future just because I wanted to take a moment to introduce you to me, to the channel, and what to expect from the channel. So as I said, my name is Stephanie. I am a military spouse living abroad. We've been living in Germany for about 4 years now, and my husband is retiring from the military this year, so everything is kind of up in the air right now when it comes to our future. We're not sure where he's going to get a job, if it's going to be somewhere here in Europe or in the States, so not sure where we're going to be living. So it remains to be seen. We'll have life updates on that, I'm sure. So with the channel, we'll start with the name of the channel, the Scrappy Penguin. Scrappy is short for scrapbooking. As I said, we may have some scrapbooking content down the road. I haven't been doing scrapbooking because it does require a lot more supplies than my knitting does, and it's hard when you don't have a dedicated craft room where you have everything out, and I don't right now. We have my craft room is also my homeschool room. I do have a 9, almost 10-year-old who I homeschool. So as you can see, we have the whiteboard behind us. So there's not like a real dedicated craft space. So knitting is just much easier for me because I just need my yarn, my needles, a little notions pouch in my project bag, and I'm gone. I can travel with it. I can take it from the living room to the bedroom, you know, wherever I want to sit to knit. So it's a very convenient craft, and I love making baby blankets for people. That's one of my favorite things, and I love just knitting in general. I've made hats for people, I've made scarves, I've made all kinds of different things. I've a shawl for a friend's mom, and I do knit for myself as well, but I do enjoy really gifting knitting as well. People generally really appreciate it, and it's nice to bring joy to others. So yeah, that's kind of my story as far as knitting. I do know how to crochet. I learned to crochet when I was young. My mother crocheted. But I just learned the very basics when I was a kid, and then kind of dropped it as an adult. Learned to knit probably about 10 years ago. Yeah, I do have another YouTube channel that I had started, but I was trying to cram a little too much into that channel, with each day having like a different theme, and I just decided to start this new channel to focus solely on my crafting. So some videos that I redo for this channel have already been done on my other channel. I will put a link to that old channel below in case you want to go check it out, but I'm probably not going to be posting there anymore. That channel was called Stephanie's Crafty World, but again, I just felt like I needed more focus and wanted just to start a new channel for that. So what to expect on this channel, my format going forward, I plan to be going over my whips, finished objects, tips and tricks, and any updates, life updates, crafting updates, anything like that. I'm also going to have some separate video series from the regular weekly posting, which will be I'm going to have one that is where'd you get that yarn. One thing I started doing living here in Europe is whenever we travel, I purchase yarn from that country, and I try to get yarn that is sourced there, so from local sheep, or local, if it's alpaca, you know, whatever, as long as it's there, the animals are there in that country. Now, there have been a couple of times I have not been able to do that, and so For instance, in Switzerland, they did not have local yarn, but they had locally dyed yarn. So that's what I got when I was in Switzerland. So yeah, that'll be a whole series on where to get that yarn that we will do. I'm also planning a tutorial series for beginner knitters, and I'm planning on creating a long scarf or infinity scarf, and the plan is to start with just the basic knit stitch. It's going to kind of be knit in blocks and with different stitch patterns. So we'll do knitting, we'll do purling, we'll do stockinette, and then I have this book that I got years ago when I first started knitting, and there are lots of stitch patterns in here. You can see I have this one marked with a sticky note, and that's because this embossed chevron, I did a scarf for one of my sons in this embossed chevron. So yeah, we'll be going through here and just picking out different stitch patterns so that beginner knitters who haven't done a lot of knitting or a lot of techniques can hopefully learn some new techniques. There's some lace in here as well. So that's kind of my plan, just to kind of help build confidence if you're a beginner knitter. So that's a series that will be coming. Let's see, I am also going to be doing a project planning series because for me, that's kind of big. I need to plan my projects because otherwise I find that I just keep adding to my yarn stash, and then I don't always have projects for everything picked out, and so I have quite a good sized yarn stash. So my plan for this coming year is to be de-stashing before adding new yarns. And so I'm going to be doing some project planning with you guys. I also have several kits that I've purchased over the years that just never got knitted up. And there's really no excuse for it because I've knit several baby blankets, shawls, you know, and these kits are just still sitting there not knitted. So that's another stash buster I plan on doing, is knitting up some of these kits that I've purchased. So that's kind of what the format's going to be, and some of the series that you can look forward to, in addition to just a regular weekly video, just a series on the beginner knitting series to gain confidence in your knitting, and the where to get that yarn series. So those are some things to look forward to, and I'm going to dive right in now with whips. I have 2 whips going right now, which I started during the same time period. One of my sons, well, more than one of them was working for a roofing supply company, but the youngest, who is almost 26, fell from a 2-story roof at work back in February, and he is fine. He is healing great, but he did need some help for a while. He broke his pelvis in 2 places and had to have a screw put in to stabilize that. But the biggest injury was to his right heel. He landed on his foot, so it shattered the right heel. And that is a pretty serious injury. It's 6 months to a year before you're really walking well, because for the first few months you can't put any weight on it at all. So I got out there within a couple days of his injury. So I was there for the surgery on the heel, and I stayed for 2.5 months until he was up and able to hobble around a little and be able to take care of some things really himself. But he lives on his own, so I stayed out there and cleaned and cooked and did laundry and weeded his yard, those types of things that he just couldn't do. So while I was there, I started this project, and I haven't gotten very far. As you can see, it's a cowl. It's called the Zinda Cowl, and this designer I found through Fruity Knitting's channel. I'm going to link to that video below in case you want to check her out. She has some very stunning designs. You can't really see what this is going to be yet, but it's stranded color work. So it's stranded color work. There are some 1x1 cables in here to help create these shapes, and the design is it's really beautiful. this particular designer, when she travels, looks at different architecture and creates patterns based on the patterns that she sees in architecture in other countries. This one I believe is from her Uzbekistan collection, and again it's called the Zinda, and there's a cowl and a hat. So I will link to the pattern designer's website as well in case you're interested. The yarn I'm using for this is from West Yorkshire Spinners out of England. I actually bought this yarn in France when I was in Chamonix, France. They did not have any local yarn. They didn't have any locally dyed yarn. So I got a project bag from there and bought some West Yorkshire spinner yarn. So I love the colors, this nice deep blue and this kind of silvery gray. I thought they went really well together, and I'm really looking forward to this growing. But again, I started this while in California taking care of my son. It was not something I wanted to knit on the plane coming home because it's stranded color work, 1x1 cables. It's just something that I personally need to pay attention to when I'm knitting. I'm not someone who can just sit and knit without looking, or that sort of thing. So it wasn't something I wanted to be knitting on the plane on the way home. So I put it off to the side, and while I was in California, I purchased some new yarn from a local yarn shop. It's called Heartstrings. It's in Chico, California, and I will link to their website below so that if you are in the Chico area, you can go and check them out. It is a lovely yarn shop. The ladies there are super friendly, super sweet, and they have a great selection of yarn. So the yarn I purchased was Plymouth's Aireado yarn in a gray colorway. That yarn, oh, and I should mention this West Yorkshire Spinners is their exquisite 4-ply. So the Aireado yarn by Plymouth is 70% baby alpaca, 7% wool, and 23%, I want to say lyocell, but I could be wrong. I'll have to look, and I can put that in the description below as well. But this is the color I chose. It's just a nice dark gray, which I thought would go with everything. And I am knitting a top-down raglan cardigan. I cannot remember the name of the pattern, but I will link it below in the description box in case it's something you're interested in. It's a pretty simple pattern. Like I said, top-down raglan sweater. So pretty easy to follow. You've got your collar here does roll over because it is stockinette without a border. That's how it's meant to be. Your border down the front here is a 1x1 rib, and then you knit the rest in stockinette with your raglan increases. So this is where I'm at. I am almost done with the body of the sweater, which is why I'm not going back to the Zinda Cowl yet, because I want to go ahead and finish this even though summer is coming. Again, we live in Germany, so we still can have cool days. So I am going to go ahead and finish up my sweater. I am in the middle here. The body of this sweater is longer in the back than the front. So you place a marker at the back of the sweater, and then you knit in short rows for a while, for about 4 rows, to add that shaping to the back. So I had not knit short rows for about a year, and so I wanted to refresh, so I'm going to link below the video tutorials I used for those short rows. I used Stacey Perry's tutorials. She is Very Pink Knits here on YouTube, and if you have not checked out her channel, I highly recommend it. She has great tutorials. They're very straightforward, very easy to follow. She even does them in slow motion on some of them if you need the slow motion video. And I just love her videos. She just seems like someone you would want to sit down and knit with. So yeah, I use her channel a lot. If there's a technique that I haven't done in a while or a technique I've never done, I will look on her channel first to see if there's a tutorial for it. So yeah, I will link her the short row tutorials I used down below for this. I did use just wraps and turns for these short rows. I did not do German short rows on it. So yeah, I'll link that. So those are my two whips that I have going. Sweater, like I said, I'm almost done with the body. I'll be moving on to the sleeves. The pattern calls for long sleeves all the way to the wrist. The sleeves are a bit oversized. And I am undecided if I want to make them long sleeved or if I want to maybe crop it like mid arm or not mid arm, but mid bicep. I thought that might be pretty, just to have like kind of that poofy sleeve there. So yeah, we'll see. As I knit along, I'll continue to try it on and see how long I want the sleeves to be. I may do the full sleeve just because that's what the pattern calls for. So those are my whips. We'll move on to my finished objects today. One of them is a cowl, and I started knitting this before my son's accident, and I finished it right after I got to California. I finished it pretty much. This is it. It is knit in mohair, and the pattern, if you can see that, kind of has like these ridges. And I'm going to link to this cowl pattern down below. It is from Sweet Georgia Yarn. I was looking for something to make strictly out of mohair. My husband had stopped off at a local yarn shop here in Germany on his way home from mountain biking one weekend with the intent of buying me some kivyut. There'll be another video on that down the road in our Where'd You Get That Yarn series, because he did go back and get me kivyut. But the first time he tried to pick some up, he accidentally got mohair. Which I thought was really cute. But what he got was the Lana Grossa Silk Hair Haze Degradé. So this is the yarn. This is a 70% mohair, 30% silk yarn. The colorway is 1105, and he had bought me, I believe it was 3 skeins or 3 balls of mohair. This one and 2 others that are, I think, more of a variegated color. So when I saw this blue, I knew I wanted to do something just in this blue without holding it double with something else. So I looked for a pattern. I came across this cowl pattern and loved it. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on for you guys just so you can see how it wears. When I was in California, I did get the opportunity to wear it a few times. It was spring, so we still had some cool mornings. So it was perfect for, you know, like on Sundays, getting up early and leaving to go to church. This was perfect to pop on, and it just kind of rests there. And yeah, I just loved it. I thought it was really pretty. It's very simple, and it does keep you warm. It warms up your neck. I was really surprised because it is just the mohair, and it's so light that you really don't think it's going to provide much warmth, but it really did on those spring mornings provide me warmth. And I think in the winter it would too. This with a jacket is going to really, I think, provide you that extra warmth around your neck you're looking for. So this is my finished cowl. I was really happy with it, and like I said, I finished it right after I got to California back in February. Okay, so the other finished object I want to share with you, and probably my finished objects for a while are going to be things that I finished a while ago, well, until I finish my sweater. This I knit about 2 years ago. I think I finished it actually, and I've never done a finished object video on it. It is a shawl that I knitted, and this is it. You can see that. This yarn is absolutely gorgeous. It's from the Blue Brick, which is an indie Canadian yarn dyer. I will link to her website below. She does these great gradients, and so this went from this dark kind of pewtery color into a lighter gray and then into the purple. So it kind of, as you can see, it starts out more lavender and then it gets darker all the way. And I wish I had made the scarf bigger, or I mean the shawl bigger, because I wish I had gotten more of this blue in there. You can see it starts going into this icy kind of blue and then the really pretty blue. But at any rate, this is as big as I made it. The pattern is also by the Blue Brick. It's called Migration, and I really loved it. I will just throw it on for you real quick. And there is a mistake in this finished object. You can't tell, but that's another video series I will probably do is, I don't know, maybe we'll do a Mistake Monday or something where I will show you mistakes I've made in my finished objects. I watched an interview with Stephen West where he says there are no mistakes, there are happy accidents, and that he has a lot of happy accidents in all of his finished projects, and I thought that was really great. You know, these are hand-knitted items, so no two knitters knit the same, no two knitters have the same gauge, and yeah, sometimes you have happy accidents, and honestly, no one ever notices. So you'd have to have a pretty big accident for someone to notice. But this is the shawl, and this is how I wear it when I wear it with my jacket. It's a sock weight yarn, but it's very soft, very squishy, and it does help provide, again, that extra warmth when it's cool out. I have worn it around my shoulders as well. And I like to wear it that way because then people can actually see the shawl itself. And we put a lot of work into these things, so I'm gonna get up and there you have it. So yeah, again, really happy with my shawl. It's one of my favorite finished objects, which is why I wanted to include it in this video. That's it for finished objects today, and I just want to say thank you if you've watched this video number 1 of the Scrappy Penguin, and I hope that you will come back and check out some of my future content, including the Where'd You Get That Yarn, the Beginner Knitter series, really hoping to inspire and help people find their groove in knitting. I was taught the basics by a lovely lady at a retirement community where I was working. I was one of the directors there, and at the end of the day, I would go to her apartment and she would teach me to knit, and it was wonderful. And most everything else I've done has been self-taught. When I first went to knit with her, I picked up the working yarn in my left hand by instinct because as a child I crocheted. My mother had taught me to crochet. And the lady who was teaching me to knit corrected me to hold it in my right hand to knit English. So that's how I learned. But now I knit English and continental, which when I start working on this again, I will do a video to show you. For my stranded color work, I do hold one color in my left hand, and one color in my right hand. So I do knit English and continental for the stranded color work, which gives you a really nice clean back to your stranded color work. But all of those things have been self-taught, either through YouTube videos or actually mostly through YouTube videos. And again, anytime there's a tutorial that I have used on something I'm working on or a finished object that I've made, I will link it below so that we can all kind of help each other find the secrets and tips and tricks. And I'll be sharing my own tips and tricks as well. I have a video that I did on my previous channel that I will share to this one where I had made a mistake on not a straightforward just knit or purl, and I showed how I tinked it with the help of a stitch marker. So yeah, I'll be putting in all kinds of tips and tricks like that as well. So definitely hope to see you back here, and thanks for stopping by the Scrappy Penguin.